have finished episode 6. We're moving on to episode 7, Love is Blind, season 5. And where we left things, Aayliah and Uche had just sat down. I was completely unsatisfied with the conversation because it already starts off with her like on the side of like, I'm so sorry and I'm so grateful for your time, and that just puts him in the position he loves to be in, so he can like, condescend. But we're about to see what's going to happen there, and I'm hoping we're going to mingle soon, because at this point I am just trying to kind of prepare myself for how that's going to unfold, and I am looking for rays of sunshine. All right. So here's the situation with the conversation thus far. We're not quite done. I'm still loving Aayliah and the fact that she has a recall, which makes it to where somebody who wants to manipulate your feelings and what is going on can't do it as they might be able to with other people. But anyway, in this moment, Uche just told us about Lydia and him and how kind of crazy that relationship was. And I believe him. I absolutely believe him. I believe that she came on strong and obsessively. I think that she was overbearing with her affections. I think she probably did do a little bit of Instagram. I'm going to use the word stalking, and I know that that's a crime and that that's a big deal, and I don't mean it in that context. I just think, like, when you do a little bit of research, a little bit of sleuthing, I think she absolutely was. He says she invaded his privacy, and he stopped talking to her once, and then after some time, and how remorseful she was, he let her come back into his life, and that's when she was like really kind of like getting up in his Instagram life and everything else. I believe him. And I said, I wonder if Lydia did or said something that made Aayliah think she might have gone into Uche's email to get on the show with him, right? And I'm wondering how much Lydia told her off camera, because that's interesting. It kind of overlaps. It tracks. I 100% believe Uche. And that's like, here's the thing. Uche also said something that was very, very, very correct. He said, I should have told you all of this so that you could keep your guard up. Absolutely. If you knew that that's the kind of person she was befriending and that's the kind of like behavior that was going on, then you should have told her. And also when she left because it became too much, you should have understood. There's no way you should have been like, that's just a person. You know from your own experience that she's a lot, an overbearing force in your life, and you left Aayliah completely unprepared for it. So, okay. And then Aayliah, and this is where I stopped it because I was so proud of her, all of that is very valid, and again, I believe him. But Aayliah says, okay, but you were really into her and Milton's situation, which is something I commented on, which is the fact that when he was going through the fact that they were dating, they had dated in the past, he also dropped, I don't think Milton's ready. I don't think he's emotionally prepared. And it was like, that's so, like, why do you care? Why? Because what you want is for Aayliah to repeat that to Lydia, but she didn't. And not that we saw. And I love that she's bringing it up here because that was a real concern. So she just said that Lydia knew, that she told people, she just knew she was going to meet somebody there that she had already met and all this other stuff. And she's saying like, I didn't know if y'all planned this. And he's like, what would be the point? We're going to pretend we don't know each other? No. You would pretend that you randomly met somebody that you had already met and that this must be the way to go. Like, he made this outlandish way of like, how would we play that out? But there is actually a way to play that out. But moving on, she says, then there was a conversation where I kind of made a joke and it was in poor taste, and she, maybe I shouldn't have. And she's like, I said, let me, like, if he doesn't propose, you can have him back. But I didn't mean it. And he says, you did mean it. And she's like, no, I didn't mean it. And he's like, you did mean it. And he's doing the same thing he did to her in the first kind of argument about her cheating on somebody in the past. How she was like, no, I didn't tell him because why hurt him? It wasn't about hurting him. It was about you. It was about you. And he kept repeating it until she was so broken. She was like, maybe it was about me. That is a pattern. Don't do it, Aayliah. Don't do it. Hope you didn't do it. Oh. going through all the reasons why he's not going to take her back at this moment, which is like, we kind of knew that, right? Because I was thinking we were going to get a couple here because we are down to just two, and that seems strange to me. But I kind of knew that Uche is not the kind of guy who's going to take this girl back, especially not on TV, right? Because he wants the upper hand. He wants to be the one that walked away, and he's given her all these reasons about like, well, you thought we could still have a relationship. Our relationship was the experiment. You can't separate them. How would we have met? How did you meet Lydia? You could have met at a coffee shop. Y'all all live in Houston, dummy. Anyway, like he's like giving her all these reasons, basically tying it back to why it's her fault. And in the end, he says, you kept saying you left because you couldn't deal with the situation, but really you didn't have confidence in me. Again, like gaslighting her into feeling like she doesn't know herself. That is so disgusting. It's so disgusting, okay? The truth is, he doesn't want to do it off of camera. He doesn't want to, like, be the person who takes you back on camera. He is, like, not. He's not. He's so gross, y'all. I hope this lasts, because she is dodging a bullet. The way that he has spoken to her, the way he has treated her, the way he constantly tells her she's wrong when she's communicating her feelings and like redirects to like, no, that's not what you were feeling. You were feeling this. That's not what you were doing. You were doing this. Like, you don't know her. If she has to take you at your word, which was nothing but kind of lies by omission, then why can't you take her by her word? Aayliah, that's called dodging a bullet. That's called dodging a bullet. And I know right now it hurts. And I know right now you think that you lost something good. But you just dodged a bullet, baby. Ooh, okay. Well, Stacey just went to Izzy's apartment. And what's weird is like, I was kind of like, Stacey, I don't know. And then she dropped a couple of truth bombs along the way, and I decided I liked her. But this Stacey in this scene is actually what I expected the whole time. And that just goes to show you that humans really are just so dynamic, right? I thought that was the Stacey we were going to get from jump. And honestly, after the last few episodes, I am confused on why she's so triggered in this moment, right? Like, I don't know what she expected from Izzy and who he is, but like, okay, the thing that shocked me was not the lost and found and not the condoms and not the solo cups. The thing that shocked me was how clean the apartment was and how decorated it was, because it was very like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, like decorated, like not even Target, like Michael's, like very craft store decorations. And I was shocked. Like, that's crazy. I just didn't expect it. I thought it would have like a mismatched like weight bench in it and like kind of a mess. Okay. But I'm confused on why I am so confused on why that caught her so off guard and she's so upset. And he is very confused too. And when she's explaining it to him, he's asking her questions. Like, she's saying one thing and he's kind of restating it. And she's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. And I don't think he's doing that to argue with her. I think he's really seeking clarity in this moment. And I hate that she's making me kind of go, ooh, give Izzy a break. But like, I feel like, I think he thought they would laugh about the lost and found. I think he thought, like, this is who I was. And like, this was my life when I put it on pause to come meet you. And like, obviously it's very different now. So like, I don't see, I am with him where I'm like, whoa, Stacey, she's so self-assured and she's so confident that this seems like this is like random to like be so upset about. And she keeps saying, I got rid of every other photo because you're my fiance. And it's like, Jesus, you didn't have to throw away the photos, put them away, sure, but throw them away? Like, It's not that serious. You guys are adults and we're literally dating other people just a couple of weeks ago. Like, let's breathe, right? That's bizarre. And then she is not happy about his dish situation, his paper plates, plasticware, and his solo cups. Not happy. And I don't mean not happy like that's kind of like, ugh. It's like she's not happy. And I mean, it kind of makes sense because do you remember her showing us her collection of fine crystal? She has all this crystal and like all of her dishes. And here's my silverware. Like, I thought it was kind of interesting that she opened her drawer and was like, here's my silverware. But it's kind of funny. And it makes you feel like the editors definitely left that in because we were going to have this other scene where there is no silverware. And she is just bent by it. And he expresses like that feels materialistic to me. That's because it is. I mean, it is. You know, I think that the big problem here is that, like she says, I would have judged you, but you are judging right now in this moment. You're not seeing the guy you spent a week in Cancun with. You're not seeing the guy that you got to know blind in the pods. You are looking at his surroundings and you are judging him. And that's got to feel awful for Izzy because you're opening yourself up to this person and you brought them into your home to show them like who you were and supposedly y'all are in love and getting married. I don't know. Like that just feels bad. And I feel like Stacey was the bright light I needed when I was searching for anything to be positive over the first few episodes. But she's dimming a bit because, girl, calm down. And if a man makes you a delicious meal but gives it to you on paper, but paper's what he has, so what? Also, I want to say that she made it very clear that the money she comes from was not always in their life. Her grandfather had his house foreclosed. She knows struggle. And I'm curious then if that's that's the story you want us to know and that's where you came from and that's your like family story, why are paper plates so offensive? And the idea that a man might not live the same life you live when you openly said your dad would pay for everything. He left his church. We don't know his family situation. I don't know much about the Jehovah's Witness people as like a religion. I don't know. I feel like if you leave the church, do you still get a lot of family support? Like, is your family still open to interact with you? I actually don't know any of that. But like, all I'm saying is he is clearly striking out on his own. And whether or not I think he's a great guy, fully developed and ready for a relationship in this moment, I definitely think he deserved a hell of a lot more grace and a lot more understanding. And that was kind of an ugly scene. And now, I don't know. Like, I still don't want them to get married because now I kind of feel like they both deserve better for themselves. Like, I'm not saying that they are not people worthy of love and of relationships. I just don't think that this is the one that's going to do well for either one of them. Is editing Sonya coming in to actually interject. I think I figured it out because see what you're getting is immediate reaction to the show, and what used to happen was I would have a couple of minutes to kind of like digest the entire show. And what I think it is that Stacey is reacting to Izzy in this moment, and she is having a visceral reaction, realizing that she chose somebody who does not have the kind of money she needs to be happy. I think that Stacey is coming to the realization that this is very wrong for her because I don't think she's willing to get past it. A while back I said that Stacey reminded me like she'd be a really good like senator's wife, right? And I didn't even know they were in Texas then. But this feels very southern. This feels very, it's got to look a certain way. And I think she's pissed that on TV, he exposed his lost and found. On TV, he had the audacity to not have dishes and actual silverware, because now she has to deal with the fact that if she marries him, she married a guy who exposed that to the whole world. And she has cultivated an image, and that is so, like, that's very Southern. And later on in this episode, there's like an exchange between him and Johnie. We're going to get there, but this is me recapping from all over. And she makes the comment like, well, pray for her. And it's so disgustingly stereotypically Southern, because there are some of the nastiest people who will say, have a blessed day. Which, just to let you know, I have cultivated this response. This is what I say. I hope you have the day you deserve. Like, Stacey saying pray for her feels very much like, have a blessed day. And it's just gross. It's just gross. It's not genuine. It's not kind on any level. It's just disgusting. And I feel like I'm using that word a lot, but I feel like we're getting a lot of disgusting behavior in this episode, which is weird because this episode has left me with absolutely the most excitement that I've felt. And yeah, strange. Something just now made me kind of happy. Just now, Milton said something that kind of hit me to my core. And that is, he said, when we're together, it feels like we're little kids just running around the house. And it's so, like, basically he was saying it's like boisterous and loud, but extremely peaceful. And I have chills. I have chills again, because I feel like that is how I feel about my wife. Like, it's so interesting, like the things that we have been through over the last, like, well, I mean, we've been a couple for like over 18 years, and we've been married for going on 13, but like the last couple of years in particular have been hard. I mean, I know everybody's been going through a lot with like the pandemic, and she got laid off from a job, and we got hit by Ida. Like, the house got hit by a tree during Hurricane Ida. Our oldest child is chronically ill. I am chronically ill and have had some surgery. Like, it's been a lot. And I am amazed all the time by how much fun I've been having while all of that was going on. And like, that's the only way I can explain it. Like, we, even in these crazy intense times, we laugh and we still have such a good time. It's like this joyful, childish, like, excitement every day. And if Milton is feeling that, I hope that that's real. I really hope that Lydia has the same reaction to Uche as she did to Izzy. Like, very like, I'm in love, leave me alone. You know what I mean? Because that's a beautiful thing. And now that Milton has expressed it, I want him to have it. Also, it's worth noting that, like, while I feel like Milton is extremely young right now, like, I'm like, oh, he's such a baby. The reality is I was 24 years old when I met my wife. So, like, it's not that young. You can meet the person you're going to be with the rest of your life. But anyway, I just had to say that because it struck such a chord in me. Oh, y'all, I'm about to cry. I am not ready for this. I was not prepared for this. And like, the Milton and Lydia meeting with her family is so beautiful. Her family is so warm and so kind, and it's getting to me to see Milton get a family that is that way, and you could just see it on his face. And like, I have said from the beginning that, like, I don't want Milton to get hurt, and now I'm gonna say I cautiously want this to work, because I think he's in. Like, I think he's really in. And in this moment, Lydia seems in. And I said that when we were in Cancun, that she seems really in. I just hope that her head doesn't get scrambled when we mingle later. because I'm actually kind of warming up. Like, I'm not even warming up. I'm covered in goosebumps as I'm watching this. I'm getting like the chills and I'm getting goosebumps, and I like what's happening. And uh I want to say my cats are playing, so I want to say that also we just learned a bit of information about Lydia, and that's that she's a little crazy, and I'm a little crazy, okay? Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll tell you a story real quick. I met my wife in a club the like night before everybody had to get out because Katrina hit, right? And it was Saturday night. Katrina hit like Sunday night, Monday morning. So we were out fully expecting it to just blow over and not be an issue. And I met her and we started talking and we really clicked, and I was in. I was 100% in. And we had exchanged numbers, and then I went to the dance floor. I think I was asking the DJ to play a song or something. I can't remember what I was doing, but I like walked away. When I turned around across the dance floor, I noticed that she was talking to the girl next to her, and I was like, oh hell no. And I called her. Like, it was the first time I ever called her because we had just met, and I called her. You should have seen her. She like looked at her phone like, oh, somebody's calling me at this time of night. And then she was like, and I was like, who do you think you're talking to? You better talk to me. So like, I can appreciate a certain level of crazy. All right. And what I'm hoping is that with Milton, Lydia has found a place to like aim her crazy, that he's going to laugh and embrace it, and it's not going to be crazy. Instead, it's just going to be good. That would be amazing. That would be so amazing. And I can't believe this conversation with her mom and her brother, who I still can't figure out who he looks like, has completely flipped the script, because just last night I was like, what is the point? This is such a hopeless situation. And now, against my better judgment, I have hope. I have hope. We're back on Izzy and Stacey, and I want to take a moment to say something, because this is what I was thinking. The vibe is off, right? Which makes sense, because last night we just had that whole exchange, that whole thing go down. And I think that for Izzy, he is desperately wanting to be accepted. And I think that even though he recovered in that moment and he went over to her and was like, I love you, I know this is tough, I'm not gonna leave, right? He is feeling very unsure. Like, he knows that according to him, he's that person for her, but it doesn't feel the same. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think it is the same. Because ultimately, Stacey has an understanding of money and finances and longevity in her life and everything else, like how far her money has to go and what she's doing, right? And I just, unless she whips out a prenup, I don't see her even considering actually marrying him. Like, which is fair. Like, girl, protect your bag. I'm not downing that. I'm just saying, I don't think this is a completely unconditional open ride. The idea that they're going into this after last night being such a rough thing, and she's just like, it is what it is. I don't know. It's a very interesting conversation. It's a very interesting mood. And I wonder if in his mind that like rejection sensitivity, like, cause he wasn't rejected, but he was definitely judged. And she said, I would have rejected you had I not met you this way. If we met outside and this is who you were, I would have rejected you, basically, is what she said. So I'm just wondering how he seems checked out. And I'm wondering how checked out he is. We're not done with the visit, but just now they rehashed the whole the paper plate thing, because she brought it up with her family. And she said, yeah, like, because he was like, you're materialistic if it matters. And I'm like, well, if you care about me, don't you want to like impress me and give me something impressive to eat off of? Which, guess what, Stacey, is materialistic. I'm just saying. So the last night when he was trying to ask questions and like get through the conversation and saying, this feels like this, and she was like, not at all, not at all. No, you just spit it out of your own mouth pretty directly. It's materialistic. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna talk about this more. I just had to get that out. Okay, we're gonna we're going to talk real quick, before we watch Stacey's dad talk to Izzy about money. So I I don't know. Lydia's family gave me the warm and fuzzies. Stacey's give me the opposite. Um, it just seems very surface. The idea that Stacey is like bringing up the biggest fight, the fight over dishes, is astronomically wild to me. The idea that her family's like, how do you get through that? How do you deal with the fact that he had paper plates and you are used to real ones? Like, what? Like, somebody needs to pull her aside and be like, are you effing serious? But that's not what's happening here. They talk about travel, and it feels like Stacey is showing off like this project. He's never had a passport. Can you believe it? Oh my God. He's never been anywhere. Oh my God. Can you believe it? Like, it feels like she's 17 and slumming because it's like exciting to date the guy from the wrong side of the railroad tracks or whatever. Like, it's very bizarre, and it is kind of what I expected when we met her. And I was like, oh, maybe she's just real buttoned up, but no, she's that girl. And they want to know if he has a job, and it's the answer is complicated, which is never great. And Dad's about to sit him down and have the money conversation, and oh my gosh. Papa Stacey starts with, love might be blind, but it still needs to eat, and it needs a roof over its head. We can all agree. And then he says, and sometimes it wants to fly first class. Okay. And the conversation kind of goes from there about like, well, how are you going to give her the things that she needs to be happy? And it's like, why isn't the conversation a little bit about why she isn't adjusting what she needs to be happy? Like, if compromise exists, is that not something we both work on? Like, maybe you travel a little less, maybe you don't spend as much money, maybe I spend a little more. Like, I don't know. It's mind-blowing to me. It really is. And ultimately, Papa Stacey is more supportive than I thought he would be in the end, but he does mention, because they talk about the AC breaking and how Izzy said, well, I would take that on and I'm not worried about it. But he says, yeah, but like if your responsibility fails, then it becomes my responsibility. And Izzy's reaction to that is interesting. He says, I'm not worried about not being able to help with that, but I'm also not worried about being judged if I can't. And I feel like that's him telling us he can't. And he says, I got the savings, I'm good with money, which is not the same thing that Johnie told us, just saying. And I'm feeling less bad for Stacey. I'm feeling like I didn't ever think that this was going to work out. There was a moment in Cancun where I was surprised that they actually seemed so happy. Well, she seemed so happy. I was surprised. I don't really understand. I don't understand why she did this. She talks about how she's never really wanted to be married. The idea of this experiment is to get married. She talks about how she's never really like desired those things. Like, it's a very then why did you want to show that that's the premise? It's a weird thing. And I don't feel bad for her anymore. I feel like, well, you got Izzy, and it might be exactly what you deserve. In fact, it might even be bad for Izzy. And gosh darn it, she is making me feel bad for Izzy. How did we get here? Maybe the editing this season is just phenomenal. I don't know. But like, this is the dynamic I thought we were going to see a lot more of. And I don't like this part of it. I don't, to be honest. And when I see Izzy shift uncomfortably, being judged and like kind of like poked at and laughed at like he's some like poverty puppet to like play with, it doesn't feel good. And that's strange. Like, having to consider Izzy's humanity after he was kind of like such a lug nut in the pods is weird. we're mingling, and there's alcohol involved. Oh, frick, you guys. Carter just got the inadvertent douchebag badge because all he's talking about is how, like, this is Taylor's fault, that he can't believe what happened with them, that Taylor just never gave him a chance, and that if he had a daughter, he would want somebody to marry, like, he would want her to marry somebody just like JP. Really? You want her to marry a man who judges her amount of makeup and won't speak to her even though she's begging for it? That's great. That's great, Carter. I hope you watch this show and you realize what you just wished upon your future daughter, your hypothetical daughter, and then you eat those words. Lydia and Chris! They're official. They're boyfriend, girlfriend, and I think Stacey's rubbed by it. Stacey doesn't like Johnie because Johnie shit-talked Stacey, and we all knew that. We saw that happening. We knew that Johnie was a little bit garbagey about it. I'm upset that we didn't see the conversation between Chris and Johnie, because I thought that they'd be great if they could have a second chance, and that Izzy steamrolled that second chance, and I wanted to see it. I wanted to see it. Ooh. Okay, so here's the thing. This is going to change everything, because I thought she'd be available at this point, and so when we mingled, Izzy would get his ego stroked, and now... I don't know. I think it's quite interesting that Izzy and Stacey are going to be stuck together, nowhere to go except to implode. And implode they will. If you are going to have that kind of a reaction to a man having solo cups and paper plates, you're not going to be happy. I don't know if you're going to be happy, period, but you're not going to be happy with this. Like, I'm just saying. So, oh my gosh. This is what we were missing. Why did this show not give us this? Okay. Johnie is crying. And maybe it's because I have been starved for hope this entire time. But the meeting with Lydia's family in Milton and now Johnie crying, she says that he's such a good guy that every day she just wants to be more of what he is. And I said earlier that is how I feel about my wife. In earlier videos about this season, I said she's the best person I know. And she's so kind and she's so considerate and she's so lovely. The way she moves in this world is so different than most people, and it inspires me because I'm a bit witchy, and I can be, not the nicest, I'll admit, but like, I'm funny, but like, that's not the point. What I'm trying to say is that, like, her crying over what a beautiful person he is feels so real, and it feels so good, and it feels like they have something that really could make it. I'm so happy. Also, I found out that we have 11 episodes including the reunion, which means that this is number 7, so we're so close to the end. We had to get extra people. So it's weird to only have the couples we have. I feel like we spend so much time with them, that it's kind of like repetitive and a bit of the same. But I am so happy now. I'm so excited that we mingled. I'm so glad we mingled. She is having a sit down with Johnie, and I'm so freaking glad that she's dating Chris, because she is not being reeled in. And again, you guys, I don't know what it is. I guess it's because they were in a pod that Izzy was actually conversating with women a little. Actually, no, he wasn't, because I even said he just projects what he wants to hear onto them. Because again, he is just straight, like the way he talked to Lydia, just like, I'm going to pour myself out, like all my thoughts onto you, and call that a conversation. He just did that to Johnie. Just dumped all over her. He's disgusting. And Stacey's kind of a biatch. And now I'm kind of happy they're together. I was briefly feeling sorry for Stacey. I was briefly feeling like, oh my God, but they deserve each other. They should not get married. It will not go well if they do. This is not a good compatible relationship, but they absolutely, in this moment in their life, deserve each other. And I feel happy instead of feeling just so sad. It's like, well, yeah, this is a crappy situation, but you both kind of deserve it. Okay. So Izzy was Izzy. You should not be surprised. He is a garbage human. This side of him that he is showing us. I'm trying to remind myself that people have many sides, but he's a garbage human. He is just proving himself to be who he was in the pods out in the real world. And to dump all over Johnie for no effing reason, I think what he's dumping on is the fact that she's happy. He did not intend for her to go off and find happiness. He thought he burned that bridge. And when he found out he didn't, he tried again to burn it. He is disgusting. And then when him shitting on her didn't hurt her enough, he needed to reiterate that it wasn't just him. Everybody thought that about her. Everybody was saying those things. Who is ever, like, really calm the fuck down, bro. And I just brought out the F-bomb because you are gross. To need to destroy somebody else to feel better. What, is it making you feel better about your paper plates to like piss all over Johnie? Calm the fuck down. Gross. I hope that Johnie can let that go. Let that roll off of her. You are with a nice guy who's a precious guy who is going to treat you right. And y'all are going to get through this. And I hope that they're still together. He does such a good job. He does such a good job being calm and telling her nobody thinks you're a piece of shit. Like, he doesn't matter. His opinion doesn't matter. I wouldn't be with you. I would not have fallen in love with you. And she's just kind of devastated. Because what Izzy did was he took all of those insecurities that she told him about in the pod and he used them to make her feel awful and to break her down, which is gross. And now, you know, like they had that moment and it's really beautiful to see Chris he's not responding to her like, why do you care what he thinks? You know, like he could be possibly in this moment. He is being very kind, very patient and just really seeing how hurt she is and building her back up. And you know what? It really sucks that Izzy did that to her, but I'm glad that he gave Chris the opportunity to rebuild her, because that's part of being a good partner and getting closer to somebody, is that you pick them up and you help them rebuild when they are smashed. Izzy goes straight to get Stacey, who has been telling people she wished she would have shit in the cookies. These two are so well matched. They're garbage. Oh my God. Goes to Stacey for validation and she's not giving it to him. Like, she wants to know, like why are you so on edge? Why did you have to tell her she was sketchy? What shit were you calling her out on? And he's like, nothing. She said we were sketchy. Which, did she say it? Yes, but how do we get to that point in the conversation, right? Stacey can tell that something happened. She wants to know why. And I think he might be, I mean, they're all drinking. He seems a little bit tipsy, so I'm just going to put that out there. But like, he is trying to get validation from Stacey without being transparent about why he needs the validation. And it's not working. She's not playing that game. Like, you're either going to come clean or you're not going to get what you want, right? And if you come clean, you're not getting what you want anyway, because Stacey doesn't play that game. I'm just saying. And he's like, I was sticking up for me and my friends. Against who, dude? Shut up. Jay just walked in and Lydia said, oh shit. I hope she doesn't disappoint me. I was damn near in tears. I was invested at that lunch with your mother. You cannot involve your mother and your brother in this and then go sell us out to Uche. You better stick to the script. You better treat him like he was Izzy. You better like stare straight through him like you did before. He's going to come to you and expect you to revert back to that little crazy girl who's going to like stalk him on Instagram. But you're going to let him know that you are now stalking your soon-to-be husband. Stick to the script, Lydia. I'm not sure where it's going, but she sure is giving him the dead-eyed look. So just an FYI, when I give people this look, if I'm really mad and you want me to hear what you're trying to say, I will be very quiet and I'm like, F off, F off, F off, F off. Like, it's just on repeat. I don't hear a thing you're saying. And that's the face that Lydia is making. And I live for it. I am here for it. I'm so glad we got to this. I almost gave up. You know what? I was going to give up, but I was like, I want to make these videos. I enjoy hanging out with you guys. I like doing it. So I'm not going to give up because I finally have the internet and I'm finally on a roll. But like, I wanted to give up. My soul felt like, what are we doing? But this is what we're doing. We're living for it. You just like built her up so that he could like sting her and maybe catch her off guard. I'm sure that's a lawyer trick. He basically told her all the amazing things about her and how she made him feel wanted and needed, and it brought him close, and that there were all these qualities that he loved about her. And you can see her face when he uses the word love, because it hurts, because she was emotionally invested. She was into him at some point, and it feels manipulative and it feels ugly, and it gets even worse because then he's like, and I want us both to be honest, no lies. And she's like, I'm not a liar. But he actually did imply, he said, I didn't say you were, but he did imply that she was. And then he brings up the fact that she wasn't always honest. And basically he's trying to figure out, like, get her to admit that she followed him on the show, which, whatever. But the way he went about it was gross. He's starting to yell, and she is like, your volume's going up. She knows this man, like, and he brings it back down. It's interesting because when he brings it back down, it's such a level, cold voice that he uses. It's very clinical, and it's not real, because his real intention is to be yelling at her. And when he's called on it and has to rectify it, which I don't think he would do if they were in private, and also this is kind of bogus, because instead of saying, did you follow me on the show, he wants to walk her through her past indiscretions. And that's the kind of shit he was doing with Aayliah. I mean, at least this time he's actually involved in the indiscretions, but like, she's like, I'm not going to go rehash the first argument we ever had. Like, what the F is wrong with this man, right? Like, what's wrong with him is that there's a thread that runs between, like, through the fabric of Izzy and Uche, and that is that they don't want these women, but they do not want these women to thrive or find happiness or even just be okay. And that is sad, and that's gross. She says she opened a drawer, and that is not, like, so here's the thing. I don't see opening a drawer when you're dating somebody and if you're sleeping at their house or whatever, opening a drawer is not an invasion of privacy the way that he framed it. Just putting it out there. And then he's showing her like Instagram, like Stacey, and she's like, I don't know the algorithm. And that's a good point, because the reality is that, like, if I follow, like, I have friends, like, people I consider friends that I have met through Instagram and I have followed for many, many years. And when I think about how I found them on Instagram, it's through other people. And it wasn't like, it was like, oh, like the app will give you more of what you're looking at. And like, it's almost like how Facebook is like, do you know this person? It's like, they do the same thing. So it's interesting. And she's like, every time she defends herself, he says something like, we said we weren't going to lie, calling her a liar again. And she keeps trying to, like, it feels like she's trying to disengage from it, but he won't let her. Milton is like, we got plans in 10 minutes. That's all y'all got, and he seems a little agitated. I wish that, like, Lydia she did not want to talk to him. She's walked away. I wish that she did not feel like she had to stay here for this, because really all he's doing is just trying his best to make her look bad. It's gross. And I feel like this is twofold. I feel like for him, this is one, punishment, because he is wanting her to pay for the fact that she made him look bad by having Aayliah leave him, right? Like, it's your fault. It can't be my fault. It's got to be your fault. And you made me look bad. So now I'm going to tear you apart and make you look bad. And the other thing is the audacity to be happy with somebody else when he said, you wanted me so much, you cared for me so much that I felt closer to you. So now he's upset that he's missing that connection that probably over the last few years he's been able to always depend on being there, because she was into him. Not a good look, Uche. I'm not surprised. You and your little friend Izzy should go, like, have some beers and be toxic someplace where women don't exist. That conversation imploded. Like, we could all see that it was going to. And, like, I'm actually feeling like I feel like Uche might have just gotten them closer. Like if they can work through this part, I feel like Uche might have actually done them a little bit of a favor by getting them closer. Kind of like he did, like Izzy did for Johnie and Chris. Ooh, okay. Twist and turns. We're like on a roller coaster. Anyway, Uche's disgusting. And, like, he did the same thing Izzy did, which is, like, verbally dump all over her. And when she was trying to speak, like the female he's talking to, and when she's trying to speak back, it's like, let me talk, let me talk, let me talk. I'm just trying to tell you how I feel. Let me talk, let me talk, let me talk. And it's like, that's not a conversation. That's a monologue. Okay. I'm just pointing it out. Oh God, that was so toxic. And now he's going to grab Milton. Why not? Because they just don't want these women happy. And here's the thing. Maybe Lydia was shit when she was with you. You clearly weren't the guy for her. You clearly weren't the right partner. People can be terrible in one relationship and stellar in another. So let them leave and be stellar. Just because you're not being stellar doesn't mean that she can't move on and thrive. God, ew. The rest of the show that I have right now, episode 7, has a bunch of like, I guess this is where like y'all had to stop and wait for other for more episodes, because it just gave us like a bunch of like random montage, and so I stopped it. So like I don't need to see all this. I want to see it happen. You guys, okay. Woo! Okay. I don't know. Do we get more Johnie and Chris content? I hope so, because then that would give us 3 couples, right? Okay, I don't know. I am so thankful that Uche, in his everlasting righteousness, did not get together with Aayliah. I am slightly afraid that it's not the end of the road, because Aayliah seemed really hurt and like she really wanted that. And Uche has already shown us with Lydia that if a girl pursues hard enough, he will at least keep them on the line, because that makes his ego feel good. Great. That's just great. Lydia did drop a bomb that he cheated on her, and then he had the nerve to be so ugly to Aayliah. Now, I don't think that that's surprising to anybody, because I think he just talks. I don't think he means any of the stuff he says. I think he knows how to use words. I think he knows how to be assertive and how to like manipulate. I feel like there are certain, I keep saying he's a lawyer, and I'm really not trying to shit talk all lawyers, but I feel like assertive and slightly manipulative and like the ability to craft a narrative is the thing that makes like a good defense attorney, right? Or a good prosecutor, or like the person who can use their words to like get you to go where they want you to go is going to do really well in a courtroom, and they're going to do well like filing their motions. So all I'm trying to say is that it makes sense that that's his like job, because he is using those same tactics in his everyday life. And I think that Aayliah got swept up in it. She was unprepared for it. But Lydia, 2 things are happening. 1, she's been dealing with this man for 2 years, and 2, she's moved on. It seems she's moved on. That like, she's like, look, I have a new boat. My boat is floating. I'm going to get on that boat and I'm going to sail into happiness, right? It's a very young boat. It should last a long time. So there we go. I'm hoping that what we saw in Cancun, when I was like, actually, they seem pretty good, is real. It seems like for Lydia and Milton, that is actually continuing on into the real world and into the mingling. Now, I don't know what's going to happen after Uche does his verbal dump on Milton. Milton did a really good job of avoiding Uche's BS in the pods. He didn't even know that they had a history, and something like he knew not to over talk to Uche, not to trust Uche's words too much. So I think that Milton is analytical enough that he will not be swept into it. Now, his emotions might get him a little, I mean, who won't? He is quite young, and it can be a hard thing to hear, but I do think that when it comes to taking sides, he's going to take Lydia's, because he sees Uche for what Uche is in a way that, like, I don't think all the other guys saw him, really. So I'm hopeful. That gives me hope, and I'm excited to see where this goes. I am excited about Johnie and Chris. And honestly, now that Stacey has kind of exposed herself a little bit more, I don't even feel like I have to be particularly sad about that situation. So now I can just enjoy the ride. And that is all I'm going to say right now. I don't know if I'm going into the next episode right away. I'm going to try to get one more done tonight, but I'm not positive. If not, I hope you guys have a great night. And if so, I'll see you in just a minute.